Welcome to the Liberty Collaborative, where the past meets the present in the fight for freedom. We uncover the roots of liberty, spotlight the people who shaped it, and explore what it takes to preserve it today. If you're ready to think deeper, stand stronger, and act with purpose, you're in the right place. Let's reclaim what matters most.
And welcome. And wait, hold on. There we go. I had to shut a few things off. So good morning, good Thursday morning. You are listening to Liberty Collaborative Podcast. And we are talking post-election here, municipal elections. And I kind of titled this one the 2025 election fallout. Are we still a nation under God and Constitution? So welcome, gentlemen. And I'm excited to be here to talk to you about everything that's been going on. So welcome, Kay Carl, Mike Hancock, and as always, Chris Coyle. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
So, Chris, I'm going to let you, unless Kay Carl, you want to take over here, because I just got to do some social media posting and let people know that we are live. So if any one of you want to start and kick this off, that would be great.
I've always been respectful of my elders.
Well, Kay Carl, I will say it a shameless commercial plug for you to announce your book about Karl Marx and Frederick Douglass is genius. I hope it's all over the radio and media, because I think you're going to have a bestseller. And you know where? New York City. I think the people in New York City are going to say, just like Nancy Pelosi said, well, let's pass this bill to see what's in it. Well, you voted this guy in New York. Now you get to see what's in it. So
Go ahead.
by saying this. One of the things we say on this show is we want to bring our listeners more content in terms of facts, more context, which is always very important in historical perspective. And guys, I would just start out by saying social media, this thing, and availability, always on, has people, some people, as we know, in the media and in various things, their view of the world is the news cycle of what happened an hour ago, a day ago. They're here. If it happened a week ago, it's old news. If it happened last year, it's forgotten. So let's start contextually. I would just offer a few talking points we talk about. We certainly have to talk about what happened around the U.S., which was a fairly strong vote for Democrats that beat Republicans. Now, we don't know the vote counts. We don't know the turnout of Republican voters versus Democrat, because we know turnout's big. But we want to get into what happened and some of our theories, because they're only theories until we have data. Even then, they're theories. They're only more educated theories on what we think happened. But second, I think we've got some historical perspective to talk about the waves of action and reaction. Why did Trump get elected the first time? Why did he get elected in 2024? What do we think context of history can tell us? And then finally, just in terms of some ways to go at this, I think it's important to drill into the difference between socialism and communism, because you're hearing a lot of the media trying to apologize. Well, he's not really communist, he's socialist. And so they're working hard to take over the Democratic Party. And I think we can help people through that logic. Yeah. So guys, those are some of the thoughts I have on kicking this off this morning. What happened and why? What is the longer view of history? And then socialism versus capitalism.
Well, Chris, if you don't mind, and guys, if you think it's okay, I'd like to define the terms of socialism. I kind of brought those up because you hear a lot of it, like you said, Chris, but a lot of people don't really know what it is or what the difference is. So this is what I have for definitions. Feel free to correct me if any of you feel that I'm wrong. So socialism claims to seek economic equality through collective ownership or state control of production. Now, communism, on the other hand, as defined by Marx and Kay Carl, let me know if I get this right, is the final stage of socialism, a classless, stateless society where the private property and free enterprise are abolished. Both require centralized power, and history shows centralized power rarely gives liberty back.
Very interesting. You use the term owned by collectively owned, which means that nobody owns anything, right?
Correct.
The same thing as the abolishment of private property. It's one of those what I would call lefty language tricks that they use to totally distort what's going on.
Yeah.
So much for the pursuit of happiness, and every
Right.
man's created equal.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
every man is created unequal. The equal is what the government tells you it is, right?
Exactly. It's going to be very interesting because even Marx talked about and had to admit that socialism is just a gateway to communism. He had to admit that, and that's he would be applauding today if people embrace. And you got to watch out how they say that socialism and communism are two separate things. No, one is a precursor to the other,
Right.
and we know that we're not people that were born yesterday.
Well, and guys, doesn't it get you? Why do you have to package and massage and brand bullshit words trying to pretend, well, it really is not an enema. I know it might look like that and feel like that, but it really isn't. We don't have to do that with liberty. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Mankind. We don't hide it.
Exactly.
But they got to package it, massage it, and hide it.
But
Wow.
you know that, Chris, that is what they've always done, right? They took a system of natural liberty created by Adam Smith, and they turned it into this bad thing that they label as communism, and I mean as capitalism, and then gets everybody focused on all this negative stuff that they created, and totally takes our attention off of what Adam Smith's original intent was. Same thing with liberalism. Liberal was something that was honorable at some point in time. It had to do with liberty, right? But what they did was now liberal and liberalism is all about collectivism. It's just maddening.
The left has a way of tarnishing words which describes themselves. That's why they go from progressive to liberal and back and forth. They always come up with names. Once they tear up and have a name become very negative, they find another way to describe themselves.
Yeah, well
Even,
said.
you know, they don't call it come in court.
No.
They call it something else.
Yeah.
Right?
And like the People's Lobby here says, the news media supports them. So thanks for listening and thanks for the comment. We appreciate it.
Aaron, do you want to play a clip there? You had a clip teed up?
Yeah, so this is Speaker, if I have Speaker Johnson, if I got it right, on the government shutdown day 37. And he kind of talks a little bit about Zohan. But before I get to that, I was thinking of this, and I heard this somewhere else the other day after the elections. Now, he's going to be the mayor of New York City. And somebody had raised the question, as the mayor, does he have the authority to say free bus rides, rent freezes, or is that something that would have to come from a higher office within the state? So he promised all these things, but does he actually have the legal ability to do it as the mayor?
Well,
So
Aaron,
that was kind of an interesting question, because
the analysis would probably start with the charter under which the city of New York operates, right? And they have a city council.
Correct.
So one of the things that's quite interesting is, as you guys know, New York is probably not a model for how I would say efficient, less bureaucracy. We always joke about Rhode Island being the I know a guy state.
Right.
Well, New York City strikes me as kind of the I know a guy state. So from Mondami to go into city council, I assume there's some checks and balances, some voting, some analysis that has to be done. And just think about this. If smart people say, well, Mayor, I know you're up there at Bowdoin with your liberal rich parents who've never really had a job, but you're in reality now, and we got to study this. We've got to look at the impacts, the long-term costs, the insurance, if it's free, what is not allowed free. You know what I'm saying? It might be another year before the bureaucracy approves it. So, Aaron, it's an interesting question. Can he do an executive order and just say, I declare this? I mean,
Right.
maybe he can.
Well, the People's Lobby says he does till it's challenged, and I feel they won't. So we're going to have to, see how this goes. And it's funny because you hear people online, oh, there's a blue wave. There really wasn't. It was just blue states stayed blue. We're in a blue state, even though people like to say it's purple, and we lost a few towns, and we'll eventually talk about that. But here's what Speaker Johnson had to say. Hopefully I have the right clip pulled up.
To run and win as a socialist, right? All you do is promise everything to everyone for free. What a great message that is. Boy, that really resonates for people.
You guys can hear that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
People who don't study history. And while you're making all those promises, you hope that they never realize the trap that you're actually setting. the impossibility of fulfilling your fantastical claims and dreams, and the extreme danger and chaos that would result if you ever could. When you run as a socialist, you have to hope that they never understand that this will lead to the inevitable loss of their freedom, their opportunity, and their security, the loss of meritocracy and fairness in society, the loss of colorblindness, and the loss of emphasis on character, and the morality and the personal incentive and the common sense that we rely upon to keep a republic in operation. If you run as a socialist, you run on a big list of false claims. And you promise everything to everyone and you can't deliver, and if you were ever able to deliver, it will be to the great detriment of the very people that you lured in to vote for you. Third fact about the election on Tuesday night is that the Democrats, and you all are not writing about this, and you should be, not writing enough about it, the Democrats have now set themselves on a collision course in their own tent. If you look at Spanberger in Virginia and Sherrill in New Jersey, they tried to run as moderate pragmatists. That's how they self-described. But they will be no match for the coming communist wave taking over their party right now. The energy is on the side of the Marxists. Look no further than the top two Democrats here in Congress. We've noted this here every day. They had to bend the knee to the socialists. Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are both from New York. The top Democrat leader in the House and the top Democrat leader in the Senate, they couldn't get around that. And so Hakeem had to ultimately embrace it. He had to give the full blessing to Mamdani and his agenda, and he co-owns it. And Chuck Schumer flirted with it. He pandered all along. He flirted with that open endorsement till the better end, even though Mamdani is an activist against Israel and an anti-Semite. Chuck Schumer is the highest-ranked Jewish official in America, and even he couldn't bring himself to disclaim that. And as we've noted here every day, the sole reason for the entire federal government being shut down now,
Okay, so then he goes into the shutdown, but that was pretty much his comments about Mamdani and in New York, and yeah, I gotta say, I think he's pretty spot on. And if that was a Democrat saying that, I'd say that too. He called it what it was. He called it communism. You know, and
well, he didn't call Mamdani a communist. He called him a socialist. He should have called him a communist.
Yeah.
Well, and guys, human beings evolve in society and culture. They have to interrelate to one. We are a creature that builds on community interrelation with one another. And we know through history that first some sort of religion, some sort of tribal rules. You can go to the far ends of the earth and find tribes on the Serengeti. You can find them in the wilderness in the Amazon, and they have rules of conduct. They share, they figure out things, but there is some sort of fabric or construct, a contract of understanding between people. In our country, at least our founding, is this idea that people are fundamentally free, pursuit of happiness, that we respect their choice of religion. And so you have this group, and I want to get away from the economics for a minute. They want to do away with the Jews. And who's next? What people don't understand, a minority that votes for this guy and goes, oh, I see. So it's okay that you're against the Jews, but next, is it going to be you? So they are fundamentally, I believe, not only economic shell game, but they're morally bankrupt. And to be an anti-Semite and get elected in New York City, which, I hope all the Jewish delis in Manhattan won't let the guy in, won't sell him any food. It's just, to me, it's morally bankrupt before he even starts. He has no credibility.
You're right. And there's already people talking that are, I think it was the fire chief or somebody that I saw a quick glimpse that resigned right after he won the election. And then there was 5 firefighters hurt when a car bomb went off in New York, I guess the other day. So I love the memes out there that say Florida and Texas are already full. Don't come here.
Here's a question I have. Those that ran against this guy, what was their message? Were they just attacking him, which is not a message?
Well,
or they focus on principles?
I
don't know. I wasn't there.
You got to get to Colorado and Connecticut. But K. Carl, to your point, thank you for that. You rarely get ahead. Look what happened to Democrats. when their campaign was, we're against that guy. That guy's a threat to democracy. Vote for me. It doesn't work. And I would submit to you, hey, Curtis Sliwa, the Angels, you've been around a long time. Thank you. But he had no campaign. Nothing. And he wouldn't get out of the race. And then look at Cuomo. I mean, what a train wreck is it? Well, I'm not him, right? Not realizing that his reputation has been ruined. And so the opposition, even the Democrats, couldn't get together and say, we got to come up with someone. How about female? I mean, play the cards you got to play to win in New York. But they didn't do it.
So you're saying the two guys that ran against you were not even electable?
No.
I don't think so.
Not really. I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, Carl.
So my comment is, so focusing on principles wasn't the problem. The problem, we had some flawed candidates running against this communist.
Yeah, and remember, he's got one message, right? I'm giving you this stuff. I'm young. I'm hip. And then you've got fragmented messages. Cuomo running around with all his baggage, and then Curtis Sliwa. Really, when you're the minority party, you got to do something big, bold, and different.
Right.
They fragmented themselves.
Now,
and take the hat off your head, man. That's back then. Take the hat off your head. You take your beret off.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Now, does New York have ranked choice voting? Do we know?
I don't think it got to that level.
No. Okay. I don't know why I thought it did, because I mean, technically, if
we should look that up,
if the Republican had dropped out, those I want to say, I think those votes would have gone to Cuomo, and it would have been closer. Like if you added it up, he only really won by 1%. If you add up the numbers, right?
No, actually, he still would have lost by 3 or 4 points. So it was.
Oh, really? Okay.
Even if it was a combined, it didn't make any difference. He was going to win.
He was going to win. Jeez, yeah. But you're right. There was no message. There was the debate. I watched a replay of the debate. It was horrendous. Everything, Chris, that you teach to do, they did the complete opposite. It was unbelievable. It was just worthy to watch that debate.
Amateur hour.
Yes, I've seen better debates at town council meetings.
Hey, Aaron, I just quickly looked this up. Ranked choice voting is used in San Francisco. Good job, guys. Minneapolis, Cambridge, and Portland. The most liberal cities like New York City have also. So this says they have. New York City.
That's what I thought. I thought that's how Mondani got in the first place, was through ranked choice voting. But I that was a while ago. I can't remember 100%. So
I think you're right. Yeah.
So interesting. So we want to pivot a little bit to Colorado.
Yeah. So going from New York across the country, Mike, what happened, and why do you think it happened in your?
Here's what I would say is that in Aurora had actually over the last probably 4 or 5 years went and began to trend more conservative.
So give the listeners, Michael, where you live, and contextually, what is Aurora relative to Denver?
Okay.
How big is it? What type of jurisdiction is it?
Aurora would be considered to be in the Denver metro area. It's a suburb, right? Denver certainly solid.
But it's a big suburb.
Oh yeah, it's 400,000 plus people, so real big. Stephanie, my wife, is the city council person for Aurora, Ward 4. And she wasn't up for election this year, but there were 2 at-large seats open and 1 ward seat, all of which before had been held by conservatives. Well, all of those got taken away for whatever reason. My view is that the people running for office that were conservative decided to do exactly what the Democrat, what I would say, these are not nonpartisan races, right? The Democrats decided that they were going to run as a slate and literally got wiped out in the last election. For some reason, we figured that this time, not we, but some people figured that the Republicans running at a slate would be a really good idea. And they fundamentally got wiped out. I think that for me, it only goes to prove the point that, we all have to run as individuals, right? And that we've got to run on principles and express the values that we stand for and behind. Because if you group yourself together, that which I would consider to be a collectivism move, that ultimately you just make yourself more vulnerable to be attacked and to lose.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, Aaron, in our state of Connecticut, which we remind people listening, you might think of San Francisco, California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, but Connecticut is right there, probably beats the District of Columbia. I mean, we are the smallest of those, but I think we're among the most liberal, right, Aaron?
I would agree with that statement. We are pretty liberal here,
and we're far further left than Massachusetts, which for a while was swinging back, but that's become left. And what's interesting, guys, about these elections, and I'm gonna throw a theory out here. Hey, let me set the stage. As I said earlier, people live on this news cycles, right? The latest thing. What are people talking about? And so our life, or generally the public's life, is become episodic. It is centered around and pivots based on events. And so I believe that the new modern theory of, if you will, voting and politics and building momentum is based on not something that happens 2 or 3 months before an election, but there are themes, there are events, there are people getting fired up. So let's go back. I'm listening to a book right now that talks about how everything that happened up Abraham Lincoln, that it swung one way and then it swung back the other way. And I'm listening, for example, to from Woodrow Wilson, Roosevelt, Truman, how they swing. So I believe in this case, and let me just throw the theory out for you guys to start picking at, that what we had here is such a monumental win in 2024 and such a clear set of things for people to be riled up about. The lawfare against Trump, the assassination, the border out of control, Biden clearly slipping, the Democrats just saying wild stuff. Kamala Harris, even if you could get through a word salad, had no policies, wasn't running for anything. So that fired up people. This time around, this fall, Aaron, what I'm sort of observing in our little state, in little towns, is that people weren't running for anything. There was nothing to rile up voters, right? But the other side, because it's their momentum swing, were riled up because they could be against Trump. So any way you could call a Republican a MAGA, and these are the same people, by the way, that were out getting no king. So they were, even though it's wacko, they were getting people mobilized this summer and even this fall, out protesting, Musk before that, Doge. So they've activated their base. And I think, guys, what happened is Republicans didn't have a message. They didn't create events, and they weren't fighting against something or for something. They were just running. And I believe, Aaron, we will find as we go through our little 29th Senate district area, guys, our state, our district is kind of a macaroni elbow, right? It's got, what, Aaron, 8, 9 districts. So we're going to go to all the chairmen and sort of look at what was your message? How active were you on social media? How much did you rile up the people? So in summary, K. Carl, I'm saying is I think the voting swings are based on getting voters activated and passionate, getting out to vote, but for something or against something. They were clearly against Trump, and they labeled the Republicans as so. And I think Republicans sat there, don't know the turnout, but they weren't for something. They weren't active. They didn't churn people up.
Right. I'll agree with that, Chris. And the People's Lobby again came through and said, remember to support the new media. The lame media is dead. Thanks for the cast got to bounce. So that's great. Thanks for listening, and we appreciate it. And Chris, I would even take it a little bit further than that. Well, speaking just from my experience, we have to do a better job at our local Republican town committees. We really need to, dare I say, take them down and rebuild them. We had an RTC that was buying signs for 2 that did not make the slate, because like Mike Hancock said, we did a slate here too. And now the lady Gail that got in is excited, but she really expected both of us to get in.
You're too nice, Aaron. Be truthful. You threw these idiots off the RTC. Right. They were commies. They're Democrats. They weren't Republicans.
They are Democrats.
You threw them off, and all the rest of them kind of held on, actually, and then helped them get elected.
Yes, and helped them get elected. And we have so now we have a council of 9, and we're by law get 3 minority seats. Town council. And even if we had the 3 minority seats, the thing that the other are worried about, the other Democrats, is that those that get elected are going to start looking into things. Now, with these 2 up there, they get 2 votes that are supposed to be from the minority party, and they pass things through left and right. Like they're going to pass a $650,000 bathhouse at a pond that nobody swims in because the water's got bacteria levels that are too high. Doesn't make any sense to me. So not only do we have that, we had a message here in Mansfield we were trying to use. It's just trying to get, I think Republicans were resting on their laurels based on the last election, and they were lazy and they didn't come out. So we have roughly, let's say, 1,000 Republicans in town. I only got the highest real Republican voter that wasn't bullet voted in, and we can talk about that, was 677. That was Gail. I got 628, and Charlie got 619.
Out of 1,000.
Out of 1,000. So that just shows you people just didn't come out to vote. And then the 2 Democrats that were the R on their name, they got over 1,000 votes each. Very similar in amount. And here's the kicker: not only
total votes, total voters.
In total voters.
So they almost had a 90% turnout.
90% turnout for just those 2 Republicans.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of Democrat votes because of the emails we had going around. Now, mind you, there were 2 new Democrats running who, from my understanding, I've looked, I can't see them holding any position in town on an ag committee like I am, conservation, what have you. And the Democrats use organized bullet voting to ensure that they got their votes, that we wouldn't take them out, because they got more votes than the sitting mayor who's been there for 10 years and the deputy mayor. They got almost 2,700 votes.
That's good organization.
And that's the problem. We suck at organization as a Republican Party. Not only do we not get the message out, but we have a hard time of organizing, and then we have to deal with the in-house fighting. I had the treasurer of the Republican Town Committee come yank my sign out of the ground and walk away with it. And I was like, while I'm talking to a voter. And then she got into a tug of war with another guy, and with signs, because the town is trying to create a policy where one doesn't exist, saying, oh, you have to hold your signs. I'm like, you don't. So now I got to, the town lost a First Amendment with election signs back in 2009, 2010. With the ACLU. So I'm going to file another complaint and say, hey, they stole my property, and they're making policies where policies don't exist. So it's a lot. There's many aspects to it, but I really believe that at the core of it is the message, and then getting people out, because we're lazy. We just expect, oh, hey, Trump won the landslide. He won the popular. He won the electoral. We're good. We don't have to do anything. And then looks what happens. We lost.
And Michael, from what you and Stephanie did, and Carl, I'm going to come back to you on this. A lot of people are saying, how did Pomfret, Connecticut, we're about 4,300 people, defy the tide and actually place the 2 highest offices? How did you do it? What happened? We don't know. But I'll tell you this. There are a couple of assumptions that you start to say, I'm pretty convinced a couple things went in it. Number one, our people could explain why they were proud to be Republican. Party of Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln, who restored not only reunited our country, but restored it to our founding values, every man's created equal. Our people were not afraid to say the Republican without going to personality, Aaron. Right. And other people, I think, let themselves get tarred by MAGA and Trump. And think about it. MAGA as a slur against Make America Great Again. So instead of achieving the narrative, taking it and not accepting their narrative, but having our narrative, it's about this. I think I see a lot of Republicans. I don't know, Aaron, but we did it. We made clear why we're proud to be Republican. Number two, we kept the Democrats and the unaffiliated voters, which is the way the Democrats do it here. They try and pick them. They were campaigning for them. They did ads for them. I think it hurt them because we put those guys on the defensive. And how do we do it? All facts. And when they attacked us, and they attacked this one Board of Ed, wonderful lady, Kathleen, they attacked her brutally, and she fought back, but never like them name calling. We were called fringe and all this stuff. We call back and say, you mean we're just raising real issues where we think you're wasting town money and you violated agreements? We think the voters, we kept talking about the voters, who's for the voters. So Aaron, I think there's some patterns here. You know, my son Brock, who's in the NFL, says, hey, Dad, success leaves clues. I think Republicans had to go back and, K. Carl, we got to reassert our message that you have to be able to explain why you're proud to be a Republican. These people can't.
Yeah, I think that at least two things. One is the right message, values, right? What we stand for and why what we stand for is the best for the people. The second thing, though, is that we've got to not just wait until election time to talk about it, right? We got to talk about it throughout the year, every year, right? And we've got to keep a focus on all the bad policies that these people are.
There you go. Make it about something that people can get passionate about. And we did that here. Exactly. We uncovered things that were not being done correctly.
Right.
And we were called, we hate mountain biking. We were called fringe, all this. And we forced, guys, the first time I believe in our town history, we forced what's called a town meeting. So our form of government, town meetings, like calling a legislature in session. Our first selectman fought it for 2 weeks. And I finally said, if you don't do it, we'll see you in court. And the lawyers told her, you got to do it. Do you know, we got voted down, Aaron, 200 plus to 35. Now, Michael, what do you think they voted down? Okay, Carl, any guess? These geniuses voted down having an ethics commission. Right? A week before the election, they voted against it, saying, we don't need it. It's a MAGA trick. Well, 140 towns have it. It's bipartisan. The selectmen appoint it, you know, and literally people whispering, what are they hiding?
So that's the first sign of guilt.
Yeah. Exactly. But my point is churning people up, making it about something that affects their lives is what wasn't done, I submit to you, in a ton of towns. Aaron, in Connecticut, there are a lot of good stuff, but not riling up voters to do something. They were riled up last fall when they voted for Trump. We know they weren't here.
Yeah, you've got to be against bad ideas, not against people, but bad ideas. Right. Keep the focus on the ideas and the extent to which those ideas are going to make our lives better or worse.
Right, I agree. And with having K. Carl on here and you, Chris, having that message of Lincoln and Douglas does work. I was talking with a lady. She identified herself as a Democrat. She came right over. I think she came over because I had Stella with me, the new Shepherd Mal. So she wanted to come over and pet her, which was a great like bringing people in to come talk to you. And so she goes, I just want to know more about you. Like, who are you? What do you stand for? And so I started going into everything about principles and values and Douglas and Lincoln. And she goes, well, thank you very much. And then the whole sign issue happened. I said, just give me 1 second. And the treasurer from the RTC took my sign and walked away because she didn't like the fact it was in the ground, even though I challenged it beforehand with the town. And so they got the town attorney involved because they couldn't find any regulation, statute, policy, zoning regulation that says you can't have a sign in the ground during election day. So I said, see, and this is the problem. I said, this town likes to do things without the consent of those who are being governed and make policies that don't exist. And she goes in, well, I'm going to go vote now. I said, all right, very nice talking to you. Thanks for taking the time, because most people don't. She comes back out. She goes, I just want to let you know that I told that lady, I said, I don't know what party she's from, but I said, you need to give his sign back and you're an embarrassment to your party. And now, mind you, we're from the same party. And I'm just like, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the vote. But it was getting to that principles, the values, and talking about that, because she tried to bring me in because there's been stuff out there that this guy Dan in town's just been slandering my name because he's a senior political advisor, he calls himself, and calling me a MAGA extremist and MAGA disciple. And it's not true. And so we talked about that. And with what Chris teaches, I took, stuff like solar, and I brought it up to, as Chris puts it, roll it up or bring it down locally. And I brought it down locally because we're an agricultural community. And we started talking about, well, are solar farms a good idea? And should they get the breaks that a normal farm should get, or should we keep that agricultural land available for food and find better locations for solar panels? Right. And she loved that idea, and we talked about it. And and I got to take a little fault. I could have done some more door knocking than I did. I could have done some more phone banking, and I think I'm a little bit guilty of resting on my laurels for being out there for over a year door knocking and talking to people, that I was like, oh, I'm kind of going to get this in the bag. And that's what happens.
And Aaron, you also have internal opposition. One of the things on the list, and I'm seeing this around Connecticut, and I think it's true in the Republican Party, you guys, is it not this purity test, but a moral test, a moral compass. So what do you really stand for?
Right.
And those guys that are against you, Aaron, that bullet voted stuff, they aren't Republicans. They don't stand for what we stand. And we had fights here, you guys. We had people resign. We took their resignations, and good luck. And so the one lady started the Connecticut unaffiliated voters, made a Facebook page, and immediately endorsed all the unaffiliated candidates running against Republican candidates. Didn't have anything to say about the rest of Connecticut. So I called them out. I call it a fake site ran by her, coordinating with another guy. This is internal Republican sort of game playing of these fake people. And I'm realizing, guys, you've got to call them out.
Yep.
And remember, never name, call back. We never do personality politics, but call them out what they're doing. So I see we're fringe, we're MAGA, but everything you're for is for the community. Isn't that interesting?
Right.
And everyone's watching. And they go, we don't like these people that are attacking these folks.
So I guess, we're getting to like the 37-minute mark here. And I know we try to keep our podcast somewhat on the shorter end. So now that we've kind of looked at the 2025 election, we've kind of looked at some spots where we failed. And again, there was no blue wave. There were blue states that stayed blue. Connecticut lost, people say we're purple. We're not, we're blue. And we lost 29 towns that used to be under conservative control. Well, we'll call it Republican control. I don't know if they're all conservative. And now they're being led by Democrats. I guess maybe we'll just go around. And what are some ideas or tactics people should start looking to use right now? Because we need to start campaigning right now and getting out there for the midterms, outside of just getting more people, because we're still getting more people registered Republicans to vote Republicans. What else can we do at the local level? Because the local level to me is what matters the most, because it's the closest to the people. What can we do, whether it's you have a podcast like this, or maybe somebody in the local community?
Catching up.
What can you do? Let me.
Right.
Oh, all right. He's not. I have to mute him. So what that we could do? What are something? Let's leave the audience with stuff, actionable items that they can take forward. Maybe bring it to their RTC or a group of people that get together and do stuff locally. What are some of the things that we think we could get them to do?
Aaron, right off the bat, and this, I think, Aurora, Alabama, wherever you go, these people, regardless of party, have a job to do. And if you right away make sure all the voters, you can be campaigning, Aaron, every day as the minority party by siding yourself with the residents, saying, regardless of party, you're now elected to represent people. Look at the way they spend money. And I'll pick on Democrats. They believe their ideas are better and they require you to pay more. And so we took the 5-year average. Every year they raise about 2% property tax. That's a big impact in our state that's so expensive. So I'd say people look at the budget line items, look at what they're deciding, and find a couple of hot button issues. Board of Ed. Just Google how many porn books are in the school library. Pick a couple of issues, 3 to 5, get groups and start to go after them and be vocal. Not critical of the people, but ask them to explain why this is representing the best interests of your town.
Yep. I'd say another cool thing to do would be to begin sharing more information with people. buy copies of our dear friend K. Carl Smith's book and hand them out and put it in the hands of people and begin to create discussion groups, right? I've got a book that's coming out here within the next week. Same sort of thing, Rules for Restoration. What is it that we need to do to rebuild this nation, to really bring people together and to move it into the future that the founders actually imagined?
So both of you guys, will you make clear, let Aaron so he can publish it, where people can buy your books?
Absolutely.
Sure,
right.
most definitely.
So-
Just to add in what y'all said, just a couple points, just dovetail in. I think on the individual level, when I think local, I think of my Thanksgiving dinner table. That's a symbolic representation of my local engagement, my family members, my friends, who's going to come over to my house. Even the little socialist going to come to my house. That's a relative. I got to engage them. So it behooves me.
Are they bringing any food, by the way, or are they just there to eat yours?
Sorry. Look, they got to bring something. There's nothing free. They can put some skin in the game, right?
Bring some wine or something.
Let's go. And we got to become a better message of liberty. And I always contend the Marxists, the socialists, the communists, they are students of Karl Marx. We got to become students of Frederick Douglass, liberty versus tyranny. And once you understand that, you get K. Carl's book along with Michael's book. You're going to understand, you're going to be equipped now where you can have conversation with people, not confrontations, and help explain to them and see and understand the value of liberty, because they're going to see it happen in real life in New York.
Yeah, they're all great points. And the only thing that I'm going to say is I was talking about this on the radio show the other day. We were doing a recap of the election stuff.
Aaron, tell everyone your radio show.
Oh, sure. So, yeah, you can go over to Audilis.com, look for 103 The Bent. Unless you're in West Michigan, then you can hear me on the airwaves there. And it's from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. And we talk all about politics. We talk about what we can do at the local level. We cover local news, a little national news, stuff like that. And we were just kind of covering the wrap up of this 2025 election and what it meant in West Michigan, what it meant in New York, because that was a big one being watched, things here in Connecticut, how they turned out. And we get into a little bit of a liberty message, and I bring in a lot of quotes and ideas from the founding fathers, Thomas Sowell, John Quincy Adams, which I have one here I'm going to read that I liked. And like the message yesterday was part of it in one of the segments was courage starts small. So it starts with speaking up at your meetings. And public speaking can be challenging, can be scary. So bring somebody with you. I started going to town council meetings, and then people were watching the YouTube videos. Then we connected, we got a coffee, we go over together, and not everybody spoke, but it was just having that support. So start going out to your local meetings. Refuse the convenient lie, right? If there's some lie that's convenient like this, for me is this bathhouse we have is perfectly fine, but we're going to spend $650,000 on a new one. And then if there's somebody in your community that's being silenced, defend them, stand up for them, because courage just takes a few small steps. And one thing that I came across the other day as I'm searching for quotes was from John Quincy Adams. Always stand on principle, even if you stand alone.
Nice. The first two quotes, Aaron, were from who?
The first one was John Quincy Adams.
Courage starts small.
No, courage starts small. That was just what I named the segment.
I like that. Very good.
Courage starts small and just starts with small steps. Not everybody wants to get out on a podcast like this or start a YouTube channel or even go to public comments or Board of Ed meetings. Because remember, when you parents were going to Board of Ed meetings, all of a sudden they were in the FBI's wanted list as homegrown terrorists. You know, don't ask about the pornographic books that are in your school. Don't ask why your school is having a transgender bathroom. Like we're building the new elementary school here, and our mayor, who got reelected, she says some wacky stuff, and she even put it out there on video. We shouldn't bring this up right now. We should do it later because there's too many white Christian nationals that are going to come out against this. And that's somebody that's and she also thinks that rural character also stands for white Anglo-Saxon white supremacy population. So that's what I'm working with here, just to give you an idea. And, I try to bring in different quotes, and I had some other ones like C.S. Lewis, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's watching. That's something I preach to my kids all the time. And these are the we need to get back to our founding and to what the generations before us had to say about liberty, and that includes Douglas and Lincoln. And
they're staying, if I can, guys, staying disciplined. On this show, you've never heard us say Mondami's a bad person. We haven't characterized any of these people. We hold them for what they do and what they say, right? And that's what's key here is don't engage in their name calling and all that. Are we critical of communism? Sure, it's socialism, but we don't criticize these people. They actually believe this stuff. It's our job to listen to them like Charlie Kirk did and begin to get people thinking a little more clearly about stuff.
Yep. All right, fellas, that was a good one. Good. It's amazing how fast 45 minutes goes when the four of us get together. I mean, we could probably do a Joe Rogan marathon and do a 3 or 4 hour podcast.
I got to jump. Thanks, guys.
Right, we'll see you guys. And remember,
stay woke.
Thanks for joining us on the Liberty Collaborative. If today's episode lit a fire or gave you clarity, share it and be part of the movement. Subscribe